We were raised with a deep-rooted belief: to be a good parent is to give everything. The more you sacrifice, the more you prove your love. But what if, at some point, that unconditional sacrifice becomes the very thing that weakens your children, makes them dependent, fragile, and lacking in resilience? That question may sound counterintuitive. It might even make you uncomfortable. But truth always demands courage. The courage to look straight at it. Because being a parent is not only about giving, it's also about knowing when to hold back, to hold on to your dignity, to hold on to your right to choose, to hold clear and healthy boundaries that teach your children how to grow up. In Eastern culture, especially through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, there is one essential principle. Love without wisdom is a double-edged sword. When you love your children out of fear, out of attachment, out of the belief that as long as I live, they will need me, you are planting within them the seed of dependency and the fear of independence. Especially once you've entered the age of retirement, from 60 or 70 and beyond, your role in the family is no longer to take care of everything. Your presence becomes something quieter, less of a walking stick and more of a spiritual pillar. And in order to fulfill all that role, you must relearn a lesson that sounds simple, but is not. Not everything you have needs to be given away. In this article, we'll explore 8 things you should not give your children after the age of 70, not because you are selfish, but because you are choosing to preserve the essential values that make up your final years of freedom, peace, and inner wisdom as a father or a mother. 1. Unconditional approval. There is a form of love that many parents mistakenly believe to be harmless. Always saying yes, always agreeing, always nodding along with every action, decision, and trait of their children. But Buddhism reminds us that love should not be blind, because unconditional approval, when not paired with wisdom, can become silent reinforcement for illusion and mistakes. When your children are adults, especially past the age of 30, what they need is no longer endless encouragement, but honest feedback. If you continuously praise every decision, even when they are irresponsible or emotionally ungrounded, your child will gradually lose the ability to self-reflect and distinguish right from wrong. At that point, you're no longer a source of strength. You've become a shadow they hide behind, avoiding the inner growth they need to face. Buddhism teaches that love must come with awareness. This means that sometimes love requires the strength to say no, to decline what is not appropriate, even if it hurts in the moment. Sometimes your firmness and clarity are the very gifts that help your child take responsibility and stand tall in the face of their own choices. Ask yourself, are you seeking comfort in your parent-child relationship, or are you truly trying to help your child become strong? If it's the latter, then stop giving out unconditional approval. Instead, offer your child a mirror, one that loves with sincerity and reflects with wisdom. That kind of love becomes the foundation for them to build a strong character and a resilient inner life. Your home, a house, is not just a physical asset. It is a symbol of stability, autonomy, and the safety of a lifetime. Yet many parents, upon retiring, quickly hand over ownership of their home to their children with the thought, let them feel secure. I'm old now, I don't need it anymore. But through the lens of Eastern wisdom, particularly in Buddhism, this is a decision that must be made with great care. Your home is a sacred space. It carries your living energy, your habits, and your independence. When you give it away, whether legally or practically, you're not just relinquishing an asset. You may be surrendering your right to autonomy in your later years. If your child's circumstances change, their marriage faces difficulties, or you have lifestyle disagreements, you might find yourself without a voice in the very place that once sheltered your life. Buddhism speaks of letting go at the right time, but letting go does not mean giving up your right to live in peace. If you are still capable of living independently, if your heart is not ready to part with the space that holds your rhythm of life, then hold on to your home as a symbol of your freedom and dignity. A home is not just where you live, it's where you have the right to be wholly yourself. Teach your children independence by letting them create their own living spaces rather than inheriting something before it's time to be passed on. And most importantly, remind yourself of this. Keeping your home isn't selfish. It's the rightful preservation of a safe, sacred place, even in your 70s and beyond. 3. Instant answers to every problem your child has. One of the strongest instincts of a parent is the desire to protect their child from all harm. When you see your child struggling, your first reaction is often to jump in and fix it immediately, offer advice, or even take over the problem, just so they don't have to stumble. But does this truly help? According to Buddhist wisdom, every challenge in life is a necessary lesson for human growth. If you always rescue your child before they have a chance to confront adversity, you are unknowingly taking away their opportunity to develop independence, problem-solving skills, and inner confidence. In psychology, this is known as overfunctioning, when a parent does too much for their child, causing the child to fall into a state of underfunctioning, lacking motivation or the ability to handle things on their own. Over time, this habit can lead to passivity, dependency, and a deep struggle in facing adult life's demands. Instead of offering ready-made answers, learn to step back. When your child asks what to do, respond with a reflective question. What do you think is the right choice? And listen. Give them space to think, stumble, and learn. Be a guide, not a substitute. You may feel uncomfortable watching your child fail, but it is precisely in those moments that inner strength is born. The most precious gift you can give them now is not advice. It is the belief. You can handle this, and I believe in you. 4. Your personal identity. As children grow older, many parents are caught off guard by a deep sense of emptiness, almost as if the role of parent is all that defines them. But if you fuse your entire identity with that role, what remains when your child no longer needs you in the same way? Buddhist wisdom reminds us, one finds themselves not through roles, but through seeing the impermanence of all things. Your identity is not just A's mother or B's father. You are a whole person with dreams, passions, interests, or values, things that existed before you had children and should continue to exist after. If you abandon your personal identity to live solely for your children, you are teaching them that happiness depends on another person. That is a harmful lesson. Let your children see that you still learn, live, love, and grow, that you continue to explore yourself no matter your age. When you become a mirror of self-sufficiency, independence, and wholeness, your child will truly understand what it means to live authentically. Don't fear your child seeing that you have a life of your own. Show them that being a parent is not about losing yourself. It's about living more fully. And through that, you'll teach them a profound truth. Happiness doesn't come from blind sacrifice, but from a harmony between love and freedom. 5. Control over your personal finances. One of the most dangerous mistakes many retired parents make is handing over full control of their finances to their children, believing they'll take care of me just as I once took care of them. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, nothing lasts forever, not even gratitude. Not because children are ungrateful, but because life constantly changes. Surrendering your money, property, and spending decisions to someone else, even your dearest loved ones, not only makes you vulnerable to dependency, but also strips you of autonomy over your own life. In many cases, when unforeseen circumstances occur, such as divorce, debt, or financial crisis, you may be the one left to bear the consequences, simply because you no longer hold control. Finances are not merely about money, they are about autonomy, about dignity. Having control over your finances allows you to make decisions aligned with your values. Where to live, how to care for your health, and how you wish to spend your final years. Seek advice from independent professionals if necessary. Be transparent with your children, but don't be afraid to set boundaries. Support when needed, share when appropriate, but do not relinquish everything. You can be generous and still remain wise. By staying in control of your financial life, you are also teaching your children a precious lesson. Respect begins with preserving your own freedom. 6. Your emotional energy. Old age is not just a time when the body slows down. It is also when the mind becomes more vulnerable to emotional burdens. If you allow yourself to be swept into every sorrow, anxiety, or conflict of your children, you will soon find yourself mentally and emotionally depleted. The tragedy is that you will no longer have the energy to care for yourself. According to Buddhist wisdom, one of the highest acts of compassion is not to carry someone else's suffering, but to remain peaceful within, so as not to intensify their pain. When your children face a crisis, what they need is not a parent who drowns in despair alongside them. They need a steady anchor, a calm presence, a quiet lighthouse to rely on. You have the right to care, to listen, but that does not mean you must absorb every negative emotion they carry. Just as you cannot drink a bitter cup on someone else's behalf, you cannot heal another's emotional pain by sacrificing your own well-being. Spend time doing what you love. Replenish your own positive energy. Write in a journal. Meditate. Walk in nature. Create healthy emotional distance from situations that exhaust you. This is not selfishness. It is what Buddhist thought calls waste compassion. Your children will grow stronger when they see you maintaining emotional boundaries. You are not the solution to all of their problems. You are the lighthouse, still resilient, shining brightly to guide the way, but never pulled under by the waves. 7. The burden of the past. You have lived a full life with countless experiences, lessons, mistakes, and achievements. All of that is precious, but if not handled mindfully, it can also become a hidden burden, one you unconsciously place on your children. Many elders believe that because they have been through more, they have the right to advise, warn, or even stop their children from repeating similar mistakes. But there's a subtle truth that Buddhist philosophy reminds us. Every person has their own path to walk. What you learn from your pain may not be the lesson your child needs on their journey. When you speak too often from fear, "Don't do that, I failed once because of it," or from unresolved hurt, "I sacrificed everything," you must remember that. You may be unknowingly letting the past limit your child's future. Sometimes your child doesn't need a detailed map. They need the freedom to draw their own. Wisdom is knowing the difference between sharing and imposing. Tell your stories as gifts, not as weights. Allow your child to make mistakes, to stumble, to choose, for it is in that freedom that true maturity is born. When you learn to gently release the past, you not only liberate your child, you free yourself from unnecessary lingering sorrows. 8. Control over your own life. One of the greatest gifts you can offer your children is the image of a parent who lives with dignity and sovereignty until the very end. Many elders choose to hand over decision-making to their children, believing they have fulfilled their role. They let their children decide where they live, what their daily routine is, how they spend money, and even their personal needs. But the truth is, when you give up control over your own life, you don't just lose freedom, you risk losing your self-respect and your place in the eyes of your children. According to Buddhist wisdom, respect is not earned by age or sacrifice, but by the way you live in alignment with yourself. When you still make your own choices, dare to say no, and stand firm in your values, your preferences, and your rhythms, you are teaching your children what it means to live a meaningful life. Remember, no one else can live your life for you. Whether you are 70 or 90, you are still the main character in your own story. Do not hand the pen to someone else when your pages are still unwritten. You can consult your children and ask for help with technology or health, but retain the right to decide. Because when you live in truth with yourself, you teach your children a lesson beyond words, that freedom and dignity are values that never retire. According to Buddhist philosophy, every lasting relationship needs boundaries, and family ties are no exception. We are not born to live someone else's life, even if that someone is our own child. And the most profound act a parent can offer their child, after nurturing them with love, is to teach them how to live independently, to choose wisely, and to take responsibility for their own path. Personally, I believe that love is never diminished when you retain ownership of your life. On the contrary, when you live with healthy boundaries, you are teaching your children through real-life action, not just through words. A father who still has a voice, a mother who still has her own opinions, an elder who still has the right to choose, to say no, to be fully themselves. This is the kind of role model most worthy of respect. And in the end, remember, when you preserve your inner peace and independence, you are not taking anything away from your children. You are offering them something even more valuable, a lesson in dignity, maturity, and what true filial love really means. If these reflections resonate with you, feel free to leave a comment below. Your story might just inspire another parent to navigate the same crossroads. And don't forget to subscribe for more thoughtful content on wisdom, psychology, and inner transformation. If you know an elder still wrestling with their role as a parent, share this message with them, because sometimes one timely insight can transform an entire journey.